The Kent School District Board meetings are held in public on the second and fourth Wednesdays of the month at 7 p.m. at the Administration Center in accordance to the Washington State Open Public Meetings Act. Regular meetings include presentations and reports dealing with district operations, as well as time set aside for public comment. Now here are your Kent School District Board of Directors. Welcome to tonight's board meeting.
If you have a requirement.
Thank you. I'd like to call our meeting to order. I've asked Wayne Jensen to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, so would you please stand?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Wayne.
Thank you.
Oops, I'm in the wrong place. Welcome to our meeting. I'm excusing Debbie Strauss from our meeting tonight. Her son is being sworn in as a state patrol trooper, so yes. So she's on her way from Olympia somewhere, I think. I don't know. So this is a meeting of the board, which is held in public to comply with the Open Public Meetings Act. We allow opportunity for public comments later in the agenda. If you would like to address the board, fill out a blue card. It's actually a white card with blue trim. It's back on the table back there. Fill it out and bring it up to the dais at any point in time. Just bring it up to the end, one end, and we'll pass it down. If you wish to speak to an agenda item, please indicate on the card and your name will be called at that portion of the agenda. You will have 3 minutes. Dr. Watts, are there any changes to our agenda?
President Brewer, please know that a supplemental personnel report was added to the consent agenda this evening, and a printed copy is before you on the dais.
All right. So we need a motion to add the supplemental personnel report to the consent agenda.
So move.
Do we have a second?
Second?
Do you have any questions or discussion? All right. All those in favor of adding the supplemental personnel report to the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? All right. Moving on to recognition. We have our proclamation, Administrative Professionals Week. I'll read that. Whereas Administrative Professionals Week recognizes the many roles and responsibilities of the administrative professionals in our schools and district offices, and whereas the Kent School District Board of Directors acknowledges the critical role administrative professionals administrative professionals to supporting the education of our students and ensuring that students are successfully prepared for their futures. And whereas administrative professionals work in the district's 42 school buildings, the transportation building, and the central administrative campus. And whereas our administrative professionals are often the first impression in the face of Kent School District to the thousands of parents, community members, and students that walk in the doors of our schools and offices or call on the telephone, and therefore serve as a key frontline public relations ambassador. And whereas the school board recognizes the expertise and dedication of the district's administrative professionals, their work to master technology and effectively utilize communication skills, their vital contributions and commitment to teamwork, and their willingness to learn and accept new challenges and opportunities. Whereas the school board wishes to commend each and every one of Kent School District's administrative professionals for their service to students, staff, parents, and community members each and every day. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Directors of the Kent School District proclaim April 24th through the 28th, 2017, Administrative Professionals Week in the Kent School District, and urge all citizens to join in this observance. So, do we have some of our administrative professionals on board? Ah, yes. Come on up here. I'm going to make you come over here. Captain Elementary. Elementary.
I'm the bling bling.
You're the bling bling. All right, well, would you go ahead and introduce yourselves and tell us where you're from and what you do?
Hi, I'm Bree Eggleston. I work in Student and Family Support Services and do the categorical budgets.
Thank you.
I'm Judy Green. I'm the office manager at Covington Elementary.
Erin Rutledge. I'm an office manager at Sunrise Elementary.
And we have Kathy Everett up here. Thank you so much for what you do. Schools don't run without you. And right now, because that's the last group of pictures? No pictures? Pictures.
Got one next.
One more, next. Okay. Oh, that's right. I don't have any more proclamation things up here, so I was thinking that was it. Our second one is National Board Certification Awards, and Dr. Pam Ansing, would you come up and begin the recognition, please?
Just a little bit down, a little bit. Hi. Sorry. I have my highest heels on, so this is as good as it gets. All right, President DeBuehler, members of the board, Dr. Watts, Ms. Everett, we welcome you this evening as we honor our most recent recipients of National Board Certification. Before we begin, I'd like to introduce, if I may, our 4 National Board Certified Facilitators. And if they are here, would you please stand? That is Ryan Chin, Jacqueline Henley, Stacy Greenwich, and Charlene Vermillion. All right, awesome. Facilitators are required to take training, intensive training, prior to being able to host a cohort. This 3-day training includes facilitation of knowledge and skills, a deeper understanding of the revised national board process, which has changed, and I'll explain later, as well as developing skills and working with adult learners. A brief history of this program just to set the context. The National Board Certification Teacher Program began with a landmark report in 1983 entitled A Nation at Risk, detailing a rising tide of mediocrity, unquote, in education. And in response to that report, a task force made up of policymakers, educators, teachers, and teacher associations and business leaders put forward a plan that calls for strengthening the standards of on teaching and professionalizing the teaching workforce. So in 1987, the National Board for Teaching Standards was born. Currently, the National Board Professional Teaching Standards has 25 different certificates in the following standard areas. So the NBCT is an advanced teaching credential. It complements but does not replace a teacher's state license. For those that are passing tonight, their certification will be good for 10 years. We have 4 honorees tonight to go through this celebration. They are the last of the cohorts that started in 2013, and so they had 3 years to complete this program. The first cadre of National Board Certificates candidates under the new process will learn their scores later this year, and we'll be welcoming them in the spring of 2018. We have quite a larger cadre coming through. The new certification process offers our candidates much more flexibility, and it provides them, instead of the current 3 years to finish a program, they can finish now in 5. They still must complete 4 different component areas, plus all the assessment rubrics. That has not changed. But the estimated time commitment for the work that they put in is between 200 and 400 hours. National certification rates under the original system hovers around 40% from year to year. Washington has a high system of support however, for national boards at both the state level and district levels. And so our certification rates are much higher, closer to 64-65%. Our state does, however, anticipate lower rates in the first year of this upcoming revised system as we learn how to support candidates in the new structure. I wanted to quickly throw in some research to help ground the work that we do. The National Research Council reports a positive difference for student achievement by holders of national board certification. New evidence from Washington State, researchers Goldhaber and Cowan used 7 years of statewide data to study the effectiveness of board-certified teachers in Washington. Board-certified teachers produced nearly 6 weeks of additional learning gains in middle school math classrooms and 1 to 2 weeks of additional learning gains in elementary classrooms and middle school reading. Also, teachers who achieve board certification on their first attempt produce 4.5 weeks of additional learning gains compared to those teachers who pursue but never achieve board certification. Finally, the researchers found that the scale score of a teacher that they receive on the first assessment, in addition to whether or not a teacher achieves the certification, is predictive of gains in student achievement. So these findings and others support more than a decade of research with similar results. This shows kind of the history of participants for the Kent School District, starting in 2011-12 with 17 and on up to this current year where we have 81 currently enrolled in cohorts. Washington State outpaces the nation with the number of National Board Certified teachers, and we regularly rank among the top 5 states with the most new NBCTs. And the state of Washington has 14% of all teachers nationally board certified. So district records indicate that we have 252 active KSD teachers who are nationally board certified, and that's approximately 15.5% of our teachers. And if you'll recall, our blueprint goals for 2016-17 is to reach 15.7, so we have met those goals for this year, and we'll continue to grow. The benefits for this award is a stipend for the amount in this year of $5,208, with an additional stipend of $5,000 for teachers that are work in qualifying challenging schools. That's determined by the state according to poverty levels. Another benefit is they are exempt from having to get the 150 clock hour requirement to maintain their certificate. They're also eligible for 90 clock hours upon completion of their certificate if they should desire. To seek national board certification, you must meet the following requirements. You have to hold a bachelor's degree. CTE teachers are not required to hold a bachelor's degree unless it's required for their state's licensure. They must have completed 3 full years of K-12 teaching or counseling experience, and they must possess a valid teaching or counseling license to do this work. So because of the change in between the systems, in between the new structures, tonight we have 4 that we are honoring, and I believe we have 1, maybe 2 who are here. At this time, I'd like to, though, invite the board to come forward to congratulate our recipients as I call out their names, if you would come forward. Okay. Our first recipient, Marla Taylor, who is an itinerant PE teacher. Please come forward. Also, Scott Like, Kentwood High School counselor. We have 2 occupational therapists that we're going to honor tonight, even though they couldn't be here. Chen Su, IE Services, and Brianne Gould, also IE Services. let's go to the side and have our pictures taken very quickly. Thank you.
Front and center.
We have the facilitators in and the other facilitator.
Can we take my crown off?
Come on over, we want you. Yes.
Kathy should be in all pictures from now on.
Are you going to bring up the next part, right?
So moving on to 3.0, presentations. We have a presentation on the program and professional development of the executive report. So Dr. Pam is right in place.
All right. Double duty tonight. I'd like to begin, so hard not seeing you guys. I'd like to begin by introducing our team that works so hard in program and professional development. Tracy Phillips is our admin assistant. Kathy Bibko, new admin assistant, go ahead and stand up. Dawn Coons, our program manager. Sandra Murray, our director of instruction, who oversees all of our district's CEL 5D and TPEP trainings. And of course, Dr. Mac Mitchell, our chief academic officer for teaching and learning. All right, thank you all. What a team. All right, let's begin. So we work very hard in our department to align our work with the KSD blueprint, specifically in goals 1 and 4. Professional development focuses on building the capacity of all staff in the classroom, building, and district levels. We look at student data. We also look at staff development needs surveys to plan, implement, and customize the professional learning that we offer. Our programs are funded by federal, state, and district dollars. The district benefits from a robust program of professional development, as it's a significant factor in recruiting and retaining a diverse and premier workforce. Kent School District is known for the quality of our PD, and we are especially proud to be able to share our best practices with other districts that contact us in planning and implementing their systems PD. How have we built that reputation for quality? We began the work beginning with the why. In 2014, our PDL teams began to develop a shared mission and vision to guide us going forward. We gathered input and refined our belief systems to commit to the mission and vision that you see here. Of paramount importance to us is that we wanted to establish a culture of learning throughout our organization so that no matter our position, our title, our location, or our level, that we were together in this work. Breaking down silos, building up relationships and people has helped us grow into this vision. The PD All teams are really made up of 4 parts. We have the key stakeholders. This is the group that sets the vision for the organization and participates in the prioritization of the work. We have the PD providers. They are the actual instructors that lead the work. We have 2 councils, one for the PD certificated staff and one for the PD classified staff, and they serve as building and departmental representatives to communicate, and also they are the ones that review all of the data from the surveys and give our summary statements back to the buildings. We begin by beginning with the standards-based professional learning at the top here. We collaborate with curriculum and instruction to determine the adoption priorities that need support and training. We look at contractual language, and we meet with our unions to develop classes and course offerings that support the work. This leads to increased knowledge, skills, and dispositions that impacts positive growth in our practices and helps to make us into a true learning organization. This year, we have really focused on professional development that is ongoing and on-site, job-embedded, and relevant to the actual work that's occurring in the classroom. Examples of this include the studio models in math, ELA, and will be science, school-based instructional rounds, a collaborative approach that generates reflective feedback between and amongst colleagues. And last year, we began working on developing rubrics to guide the quality of our professional learning. And this spring, our plan is to examine these alongside of our new equity policy to make refinements to our work. And finally, our goal is to see increased student learning with these efforts so that all our students are successfully prepared for their futures. This leads us to the work that is still underway with Dr. Anthony Muhammad, international educational speaker and PLC advocate, and author of the book, Overcoming the Achievement Gap Trap. And we have used this book in our KSD leadership team this year. You may recall in December, in fact, Christmas week, December 20th, Dr. Anthony Muhammad was right here in this room. It was packed. And he spoke to our leadership team, teacher leaders, central office staff, and we learned from him that there are two types of change that learning organizations face. Technical, which are the curriculum, structure, policies, and technology kinds of change, and cultural, which are the beliefs, the assumptions, and the attitudes. And of the two, the cultural change is the most difficult to attain. And this was the focus of the work that we did this year in our leadership team cohorts as we read his book, Overcoming the Achievement Gap Trap. He likened the culture as being the soil and the technical as being the seeds that planted in that soil. And in this work, he called out the positive impact of professional learning communities, what they can have upon a school or department that accepts the challenge to become a PLC. When that happens, a staff makes fundamental commitment to ensure high levels of learning. How does he do it? How did he share with us? They address the 4 questions. First is, what do we want our students to know? And Dr. Muhammad said we must develop aligned, equitable learning targets. Second question, how will we know when they learn it? He suggests a system of common formative assessments be developed, and what will we do for students who have not learned these goals? He suggests an organized, data-driven system of support for students who miss those targets, and then what will we do for the students that have learned them? He says we must have a system of enrichment for students who are ready to learn at a deeper level. Our recent PD data survey suggests that staff believe PLC collaboration is highly valuable and has improved student learning in their classrooms. Collaboration time and acting upon these 4 questions gives us hope for overcoming the achievement gap trap in the Kent School District. Our staff need this dedicated time to prepare the soil and plant the seeds. So the modeling of best practices needs to be evidenced at the leadership level as well so that staff can see all stakeholders engaged in this work. Without this focus at the leadership level, staff will see a lack of support for the work. So this year, we continued collaboration work in cohort groups. We worked as elementary principals, secondary principals, district operations, curriculum and instruction, IE and special services, and CTE. Groups engaged in cross-sharing of best practices for their buildings or department-level PLCs. We took the 4 questions that I just shared with you and adapted them to be applicable for central office and operations folks, and dug into the soil, if you will, asking probing questions about mindsets and cultural change as it relates to their current work. Themes found in overcoming the achievement gap trap. In teaching and learning, we look at building capacity through PD using multiple lenses. 1, we analyze the needs of staff as identified through staff surveys such as the SAI-2 and the district PD survey. We also look at student data to identify professional learning that is individualized and customized to the school's needs. Our focus this year, as I mentioned, has been to move professional learning to the site level, so away from the central office training approach and into the schools alongside our staff, so the learning is more job embedded, ongoing, and relevant to the needs based on data. This way, we're able to focus on students and staff in a more deep and granular way. And this year, program and professional development supported the goals of our Division of Teaching and Learning in multiple ways. Class Measures Consulting was brought in and conducted quality reviews for Cohort 1 and 2 schools. They're our most challenging schools, and created a customized KSD School Improve instructional framework with specific strategies needed to address gaps. That led to the creation of action plans by the staff that were more rigorous, specific, and aligned to the needs that were identified in those quality reviews. And then Class Measures also trained Cohort 1 and 2 schools in school-based instructional rounds, a practice that is based on the medical model of making rounds as colleagues, debriefing, and making diagnoses in a reflective and collaborative way. Once we had the Cohort 1 and 2 schools trained in this non-evaluative, continuous internal feedback model, other principals and staff began calling and asking for these trainings for their schools. And so now these trainings are being facilitated internally by Sandra Murray, our Director of Instruction, and myself. And this is open to any and all schools expressing an interest in this powerful practice. I also wanted you to have a copy of the field guide, if you'd like to, Kathy. That Sandra Murray, Dr. Mitchell, and myself collaborated on to kind of give an overview and a guide for schools wanting to participate in school-based instructional rounds. The final way that we have been focusing our PD this year has been in the development of expert teams that have been focused in specific areas such as ELL, IE, STEM, CTE, and IT. Here we are looking externally and internally using student-centric focus, learning first and teaching second. Teams identify high-impact instructional strategies. They meet throughout the year and are looking at dualistic lens data for both growth and proficiency using customized criteria and resources. So as I mentioned earlier, we have 2 surveys annually that we use from certificated and classified staff. And both of these are perceptual data and use qualitative and quantitative, so words and numbers, to share their input. And these data are reviewed by staff in our 2 PD councils, the classified and the certificated. The findings are then shared with the schools through their councils, as well as with our key stakeholders and PD provider groups. Data this year showed some highlights that we wanted to call out, as well as a couple of topics that we want to follow up on as well. And in your report, just shouting out a couple on page 29, you will see that question 3, 75% indicated that learning communities in their schools believe the responsibility to improve student learning is shared by all stakeholders. So that is staff, district, family, and community. Staff responded with 43% always, and that's trending up from last year, and 32% believe so frequently. Also, question 35 on page 48 show that large percentages of staff indicate they don't have enough opportunities to observe each other as one type of job-embedded professional learning, with seldom having those opportunities at 33% and sometimes at 30%. And so really, that kind of shows us that there's a readiness to benefit level there for staff in terms of being able to participate in things like school-based instructional rounds, where they can visit one another's classrooms and partner up and give feedback to each other in a non-evaluative way. Also on page 43, we have feedback on from certificated staff for our CEL5D trainings. 52.5 found them to be highly valuable. PLCs, 75% indicate they are highly valuable and believe that they have improved student learning in their classrooms. And our classified survey on page 53, 65% found the trainings to be highly valuable, and 60% have refined their practice as a result of that training. But the number one that the classified staff for a third year in a row have asked for is technology, and that is their number one choice for additional professional development. Additional findings are listed on page 52 and 56 of your report. So, in our district, we have three major initiatives that we support through our professional development. That's the CEL5D, our Washington State Learning Standards, and professional learning communities. So we track all of our trainings through ERO, our electronic registrar system, where staff have access to all of their class records and their transcripts, shows all clock hours and credits and documentation that they have received by their courses. So how many staff have taken advantage of our PD classes this past year? We show 7,681 staff have participated. It's broken down by employee group for you to see from July 1st through March 15th of the current year when the data was pulled. So what is the investment in dollars to support professional learning of all our staff? We have broken this down into 4 buckets for you to see by our initiatives that I just explained, as well as additional professional development for all groups. So we are serving classified staff, certificated staff, and administrators. Professional learning is an investment in the future. It's a measure of our commitment to growing the capacity of all of our staff by providing them with ongoing opportunities to continuously improve as leaders and learners. The investments that you see above are from April 2016 to April 2017 and total nearly $700,000 plus $636,000 in program FTE for this last year. It's important for the board to know that our investments are largely dependent upon the continuation of federal and state grant dollars. Approximately 90% of these costs that you see were covered this last year by federal dollars, Title IIA, and state dollars, our BEST and TPEP grants. And so we do still rely on our district BEA monies to complete this essential work. Should federal or state funding be reduced or eliminated, the quality of our programming will be significantly impacted. Looking ahead, our next steps, timelines, and the closing. Here you can see an outline of our system-level work as it relates to PD. We plan to continue refining our systems rubric and PD delivery rubric and aligning it to our new equity policy. We continue to finish the year out cross-sharing our PLC best practices. We have one meeting left in May, and we're actually going to be talking about differentiation at our elementary levels. Also, increasing the use of technology to stream as much PD as we can. We're going to be streaming the Seattle PLC conference this year for the second year in a row. It'll be at Kent Lake High School, streaming that in August 15 through 17. And we're going to continue our work with Dr. Anthony Muhammad. He is coming back to our district on August 18th to talk about creating the culture to close the achievement gap trap. So our continuing work is to go forward with designing professional development that's on-site, job-embedded, and geared toward building capacity at all levels for the benefit of our kids. Questions? That's all I have.
Some questions?
I had a couple questions. The participant numbers, were those like unique individuals? It's not like if one person took 5 trainings?
It is.
Yeah.
It's duplicate.
Yes. It's by the number of individuals.
That can't be. It's got to be registrants.
It was the number of registrants per class that we totaled in each of those areas. Are you
So
looking
one
at?
person could have taken multiple classes.
They could.
Right.
Okay.
Can we get the unique number, the unduplicated?
Okay.
Possible to run a report on that? I just want to see if maintenance has one guy who's really good and took 8 classes, or
Is there a
did 8
name?
people take
Is
one
there a
class?
name for me that you'd like me to look up?
And then another question was that, because you were sharing that, which I appreciated hearing, 90% of the cost was from the Title II federal, and then the 2 sources of the state dollars. So about what percentage of that is the federal dollars, which we're talking about in our work session as a proposal that could be cut potentially?
So we have in our grant totals are about 1.2 million, a little over 1.2 million. And that's all of our grant dollars together. That's Title II. Last year, we received $709,000 in Title II. This year, I am going lower than that in our proposed budget, going to $700,000, and perhaps needing to go lower than that, depending on what we hear from the federal government. It has been proposed, as you may know, if you read the news or the Office of Management and Budget report that came out that I read last night, the Department of Education, there is the current administration budget in there that is proposed to eliminate $2.4 billion, and that would be our Title II state dollars, effective in the 2018-19 school year. There may be some cut that we see in this coming year. It depends on how fast it moves through the Congress.
Thank you. And then my last question was, I really liked the slide that in the beginning that was the circle of sort of what your process is of continuous improvement, starting with the standards, ending with increased student learning. And I really loved how you had the equity lens in there after the delivery models. And I was wondering, Pam, if you could just give us like one concrete example of how you would apply a equity lens perspective to how you're delivering the PD.
So one way might be in terms of thinking about student voice as we're delivering our professional development and teaching our teachers. And, are all of our students participating? Are all of our students engaging in student dialogue to the best of their ability? How are the lessons being delivered when we think about the culture of the student and the families that we are serving? How are we differentiating all of the training and that we do? But also thinking about the relationship that we are developing and building with our communities, our children, and I think that's kind of foundational.
Right. What about with the non-certificated staff, with the classified staff? Could you give an example of that too, how you'd provide that equity lens?
Yeah. We meet regularly with the classified PD council and talking about, in fact, yesterday just had a conversation with a classified staff member talking about the need to learn more about how to interact with all students that they work with in the classrooms. And it definitely is a need, and it is something that we're looking into.
Great, thank you.
Maya?
All right.
I wanted to ask about, you mentioned the CEL, the PLC, and the Washington State standards.
Yes.
What is in the other professional development? It's $251,000, and I wondered also what professional development, does any of it involve travel outside of the district?
Some does. There are the vast majority of any travel that we have sponsored has been covered by the Title II grants or the BEST grants. There are criteria that come with grants, that trainings that have to be that they have to participate in, and that does require some travel. But with that comes the dollars to support that. And then in the final bucket there, the additional professional development, that's going to be all groups. So that's going to be like we have our classified training program, where classified staff, we have all these 9 different union groups that each have specific needs. And so we have classes that are aligned to what those needs are, and that's paid for typically in those dollars that you see there.
So all those dollars are tied to?
It covers anything else that's outside of the 3 initiatives. So any other PD falls in that 4th bucket.
No, my question is it all covered by Title II?
No. No.
Okay, so we're dipping, okay. The next question is, a student at Kentridge brought this up. He's interested in kind of observing the PLCs, and I don't know how open the district is to that. Do you see any issues with that, having students comment on PLCs?
Having a student come and observe or in a building PLC? I think that's going to be a local building decision, but personally I would, I think done, we are a learning culture, we're a learning organization, and I think student voice is an important part of our learning. So I think it would be, an okay practice.
Okay. And then finally, well, there's 2 more questions. One is the staff training, the training that's available to the public. Are we advertising that in any way to the community?
We actually have it on the website where they can go there and they can call into our office, and we can take them from there to classes that are open for our community. We also open our trainings to our private schools, that they also receive part of our Title II dollars currently. And so we have, I think, about 3 meetings a year with that group as well.
Yeah, I just saw one community member there.
There may be some that actually come but don't sign in or, register.
Okay. And then finally, are we doing any, we've talked about this in the past, sort of looking at the inventory of the skills that are available with our staff members, and how can we leverage, the internal skill and capabilities?
Yeah. We're looking at that much more closely, particularly because we are trying to grow this inside-out model of professional development. So we're utilizing our internal staff as much as we can. We go there first, and if we don't have that inside, then we may have to do outside consultants, but we really are, especially, we have a great group of PD providers that our district, supports and regularly has leading trainings, particularly around our Washington State standards types trainings. But
thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
Any other questions? I noticed on the compilation, I guess, of always, frequently, sometimes, seldom, never, and don't know, that there's some of them that refer to the school's leader and to the the principal, and some of them say, don't know or never. And do we break that down? Do we have the principals look at this and make sure that they're covering?
So this information has been shared just with the council at this point to do the analysis, and you're the first group to see this publicly. But this will be sent to building principals so that they can see it as well. If a school generates more than 10, they also can go into the reports and have a personalized, customized school building report. That's also very helpful.
Yes, it is. That would be. And then along those same lines, it was content standards, I guess, and there was a large group that said it didn't apply to them. Was it because it was reading and math, and it was maybe people outside the reading and math or reading, although a lot of our other content areas should be focusing on the reading. But I just thought that one was interesting.
Yeah, that is probably how I would interpret that.
Yeah. Okay. And just you said we're transferring from the ERO over to Thrive. What
Yes.
is that, and does it cost more money?
We've been told no. That the Thrive system is what ERO is moving into. They are the same parent company, I guess you could say, but with better service and updates that will really meet our needs. So that is what we're not yet ready to move to that. We're looking at possibly next year that they will be ready for full implementation. But we are in communication with them. We meet probably 3 to 4 times thus far this year just to stay in contact with them on how far along they are ready to take on a district our size.
Okay, and yeah, I'm just looking at some of these. So if you've got a big don't know or a never, it's going to be really important to break that out by schools and let the principals see that.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Pam. All right, we're moving on to the Board of Directors discussion and approval on the 2017-18 calendar. And we have someone who would like to speak to that. Do we? Where did that go? Okay. Oh, where did that go? Hang on. I'm assuming that's what this one is about. I don't know if it's about the calendar or not. Brett? Is it over here? Is it about the calendar?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, wait. What?
We're going to take public comments before we
sorry.
vote. So you have 3 minutes, and
I'll try and make it quick. This process obviously goes on every year, and to your credit, you actually laid out what the votes were here in the agenda. For those members of the audience that didn't actually get a chance to download and look at the agenda online, the agenda actually spells out that 1,285 of the total 1,916 votes cast was option 2 to start the school year for 2017-2018 on August 31st. I sent an email to the school district back in November. I specifically asked when will the results of the survey that were given to the parents, when would that survey be published? The response back I received was, thank you for your question. We will not publish the results. However, we will use the feedback to continue the process. Parent feedback is one part of the process. I have twofold question. One is, why is the parent feedback not included on the agenda if that's part of the process? And two, it almost sounds like it's already been determined based on the fact that you refer to the bargaining unit has already decided what the school year is going to look like. So my concern is, we as parents, we gave you feedback. I can only speak for myself and the people I spoke with. We don't want the school year to start before Labor Day. That's my opinion, that's my belief. I just kind of want to get some feedback, and why is it not on the agenda, what we voted for, we as the parents? Thank you.
Thanks. And again, when you make comments, we don't answer at this point in time, so just, okay, all right, thanks.
I don't take it personally.
Do we have any, oops, hang on, we got to do the, we need a motion to ratify the proposed 2017-18 student calendar.
I so move.
Have a second?
I'll second.
There's no we don't, oh, hang on, wait a minute. Do we not discuss, or we just go? Do we have discussion?
Well, I mean, it's Groundhog's Day again for me. Happens every 5 years. I mean, every year for 5 years in a row now. I'm going to vote no. Again, I don't know of any parent that, except for maybe one that's a teacher, maybe two that are teachers, that like this calendar. I have always been told, started after Labor Day or started a week or two before, and 2 days for a midwinter break. The overwhelming, on the several times that we've done the survey, the overwhelming results have been parents want to start after Labor Day and have 2 days. And again, I will just continue to say that I know the process involves bargaining, but maybe one day, somehow, some strike of lightning, we will put forward to our bargaining units our preference based on what the public has repeatedly told us numerous times, and allow them a yes or no vote. And I will watch the video before the meeting next year to make sure I'm consistent in what I say. But I've been pretty darn consistent for the last 5 years, so that's not going to change.
All right.
I was just going to say that I think it might be helpful for some members of the public who aren't aware of what the process is, if we could have an explanation of the process.
I'll ask Mariah if you share the process with staff.
Certainly. So I'll set the premise that the student calendar is a mandatory subject of bargaining for all of our associations, not just our Teachers Association. And so the process has been outlined that we did seek parent feedback this year, and there were 4 different options. 2 of those options were to have a full midwinter break, and 2 of those options were to have a 2-day break. Parents did, the majority did look at the choice of a 2-day midwinter break. That information was considered when we offered 2 options to the association. The first association to take a look at that is KEA. And part of our agreement with them is that they are provided 2 options. One of the options that we are required to present to them is that one option be a full midwinter break option. The other one can be up to us. We chose the option that the parents desired, and we presented both of those options to the association. They voted, as did all the other associations, and the results of that vote are before you here.
Thank you. Thank you, Mariah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Have any other questions or comments?
I mean, I think next year, I think it's useful information. I think it's nice to validate. I'd like us to make that information public next year. I mean, it's not like it's a big secret or anything what the parents preferred. And I'm all for transparency. So next year, when we survey the parents, and I also want to make the comment, this is not a complete calendar. And I don't know why we keep doing it this way, but we're going to negotiate either late starts or early releases. And those number of days are still probably open for bargaining. So the fact that we come back and modify this calendar seems silly to me. And maybe it's because it's an easy negotiating thing and we just want to get it off our to-do list. But I still don't understand why we just don't complete the whole calendar that will include the late start or what's been my clear preference, early releases. So I'll say that again next year too.
Yeah, I will nod. Why do we not do it? I don't know.
I'm going to change my strategy next year.
All right. All those in favor of the motion to ratify the proposed 2017-18 student calendar, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
Yep, I mean, no, or, yes, I oppose.
That'd be a nay, I think. All right, 4.02, the capital facilities plan. We need a motion to approve the 2017-18 capital facilities plan for 2017-18 through 2022-23 as presented.
I so move.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Do we have any discussion or questions?
I did have a question. And I had the page. Let me see if I still got the page. 29 on the projected cost of the new elementary school in Kent Valley being the same price as the Covington replacement at $46 million.
Correct.
So that, to me, assumes that the land's included in that.
That was the value that we put in the bond proposal for that school.
Yeah, but it's likely to be, it could be a lot more.
There is money in there for land acquisition. In the next line down, there's money in there for land acquisition.
No, not the one that I'm looking at.
Oh, on page, maybe it's the page before that.
Page 29. Oh, it does say land, I'm sorry, I got caught on a table. I'm kind of a picture guy.
Yeah, it's $1.1 million there for more land acquisition.
Pardon me?
It's like $1.1 million for land acquisition.
And how many acres do you need for
That's about,
school?
our average price over the last couple of years has been $110,000 an acre. We'll probably need more than that, but that's what's in the plan.
Valley, yeah, that's kind of a.
And then we have, I don't want to mention these sites, but we have four or five sites in mind right now, so we're looking at different sites.
Yeah, so we've run into a little trouble overestimating revenue, and I don't want to run into the trouble of, it being $5-6 million. Granted, I think we've got the money there.
Right, we got the money in capital.
Yeah.
We have the money in capital projects, yes.
Enough. We got 20, 30, I forget the number. That's discretionary.
There's a good contingency in there, yes.
Yeah, but as we're finding out, surprises, especially expensive ones, aren't good. So I don't know.
Again, it's a plan. It's because it's a plan so that we can. But it's nothing. It's
There's a plan, right? I know.
And plans change.
It's on the record now that it may be substantially more, because if we need 5 acres and we're going into the valley and we're not using the Kent Early Learning Center, then, we're looking at 4, 5, possibly even more land acquisition cost.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I just want to put it out there right now so we're not surprised in 2020. Okay. That's all I had.
Okay.
Okay, is that it? Yep. All right. All those in favor of the motion to approve the 2017-18 capital facilities plan for 17-18 through 2022-23 school year, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. Does anyone want to pull an item for discussion?
5.12, please, travel authorizations.
Anything else? Okay. All right. We need a motion to approve the consent agenda minus 5.12.
I so move.
We have a second?
Second?
All those in favor of approving the consent agenda minus 5.12, item 5.12, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay.
I forgot to say aye.
Okay. I sort of didn't hear your voice. All right. Do you want to, we have, Og, do you want to just say something first?
Oh.
And then we've got some people who would like to speak to it before we vote.
Well, what's the protocol? Do we?
Well, there are.
Comment first?
Well, yeah, you just pulled it for
Yeah,
discussion.
okay.
I guess that's all that needs to be said.
Is there 4 different travel authorizations there? So, Christine Mastroff, again, you've got 3 minutes. You want to come up over here to the dais, and then Jeffrey Mastroff also is on deck.
Good evening. My name is Christine Mastroff. I have a student at Kent Lake High School, and I'm here to discuss we have our high school band teacher music program has put in, we've done this Victoria, BC trip for Victoria Days. Don't quote me on this, I think it's around 18 to 20 years now. He put in the authorization or the request to be authorized to go on this trip in January, and we have been given, I'm not really quite sure why we may not have authorization to go, but we have not gotten the authorization yet to go on this trip. And we're wanting to know why and what we can do to help get this trip facilitated so we can go on it. A number of us parents are here because we have gone on this trip. This is going to be my 3rd year on this trip. We have it down to a science, so to speak, getting through customs, getting through border, getting over and back as well. I just want to know exactly why we're having a problem now versus why we haven't had it in the past 20 years or so that we've been doing this trip. I'm a little kind of taken off because I'm really not sure why we may not get authorized to go, but then I just wanted to get it out there that, yes, we have this down to a science. We really have. If there's anything we can do, we'd like to know what we can do about this. Thank you.
Thank you. So Jeffrey, you're up next, and Roxanne Kruger-Monahan is on deck.
Hi. I find myself in an interesting place here because I'm absolutely unfamiliar with this whole format in every aspect. The fact that we were going to come in here tonight and my lovely wife, knowing that she was going to speak here tonight, kind of helped me to understand that there may not be a give and take. And I think, Russ, you may have made a comment that this isn't going to be something where we have the opportunity to address you and then possibly get an answer. Am I correct in that? Or can you answer that?
I can. As long as you don't argue back.
Absolutely. And the beauty of why I'm glad we're here is a chance. Again, in my profession, I actually travel the world, and I travel internationally quite a bit. So when my wife and others started to talk about the possibility that there may be a problem with the kids or a concern, the kids getting across the border and stuff, immediately I perked up and said, why is that? I'm pretty familiar with this process. I think I'm not going to take a lot of time. I'm just going to speak generally to understand, again, my daughter, who's been doing it for 3 years, and as I was walking out of the house tonight, said, Dad, find a way to make this happen. I don't understand why we might not be able to go. I'm uneducated in this, and my intent to be here tonight was to try and educate myself a little bit more on why it is. Russ, there's a woman that I'm sure everybody here might know. I have no idea who she is. Her name's Tamara. I only saw an email chain. And in that email chain, I thought she was very articulate in an email to you that kind of spoke of her beliefs on why. And I think just reading her email, I'll bet you we have a completely different political point of view. But the one thing that I could think that we can agree on is if there's a way to make this happen for the kids, I firmly believe that's why we're here. It's all about them. That's the only reason I'm here tonight. So I'd like to just, because I saw your reply in it, Russ, that it looked like the decision had already been made. If I'm misspeaking on that email, you'll educate us on why and how. But I think that's really where I want to close on. I feel the decision's been made, and I want to make sure that we are all heard in that regard.
Thank you.
You bet.
So Roxanne Kruger-Monahan is up, and then Terry Mitchum? Okay, I was going to do that, is on deck.
Good evening. I wrote some notes because otherwise I know I'll go over 3 minutes. I'm here asking for your approval, and if the decision is made, that would be very disappointing before we have an open forum for discussion and for you to hear our point of view. My daughter Megan Monahan is a junior at Kent Lake High School. She's active in band, Key Club, and drama. She's really working on perfecting that last part at home as well as at school. I think you all probably can understand that. As background, I'm the Chief Operating Officer of an international nonprofit based in Seattle. This nonprofit over the last 20 years has literally traveled with thousands of teenage high school kids from Colorado, California, Chicago, and Seattle, and in the greater Seattle area without incident to one of the most dangerous countries in the world, as identified by the United States government, and that is Guatemala. And we happen to have an office in Guatemala as well, and we staff 6 people there. We've traveled there for 20 years without an issue, without an incident. Now, I understand that there's a heightened sensitivity to documented travel in and out of the country, particularly with the political climate. And I really believe that some of this conversation is really driven by the political climate and the fear mongering that is being perpetuated as a result of that. This month alone, we had 2 trips being left on April 1st, one out of Colorado, one out of Seattle. 2 trips of kids traveled, and adults and teachers and adult staff traveled to Guatemala through Houston and through Miami, through customs, and to Guatemala City and back without incident. 3 of those youth that traveled were not U.S. citizens. One was from Mexico, one was from China, and one was from Guatemala. They traveled with the same documentation that's always been required. They had their documentation, and they were able to go through customs without any scrutiny, without any extra concerns, just the way they always have been able to travel in and out of the United States. Last I checked, the United States is not a police state. I'm really disappointed that you're considering and canceling this trip, which for one thing, I know that it would be of great financial cost to the organization, to a school district, because deposits have been made on buses and on the hotel, and we're 3 weeks away from this trip. But, you know, as I understand it, it's based on concerns of our youth coming back into the United States and the possible scrutiny of, you know, from what I understand, unidentified youth that may not have the correct legal papers. So to me, it seems like canceling a trip out of fear of possible racial profiling and scrutiny at the U.S. border is sending a message to everyone, including our kids, that it's okay to be afraid that that possible, you know, profiling can occur, and that we're just going to accept it out of fear, and therefore we're going to avoid it and not move forward in the same way that we have for the last 18 to 20 years. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Terry Meacham. My youngest son is in the band at Kent Lake. Last year, my wife and I were chaperones for this trip that we're talking about. I understand the concern is that some child will not be able to get back into the country for whatever reason. Let it be known that before they get on the bus, they have to have proof of their citizenship with them as required by United States Border Patrol. They need to have photo identification, and since they're minors, they need to have a letter of saying that it's okay with their parents that they go on this trip. All this paperwork is gathered together in a file with the child's name, and when we were at the border last year, we handed paperwork to the customs agent. The customs agent looked at it. We pulled the student forward. The customs agent went through it, handed it back to us. The child went through. Of the busload of students, comments going up by the Canadian immigration and coming back by the U.S. immigration was, you guys had these 60 kids through this line faster than we have ever had anybody through. So we prepare for this trip. We cannot prepare for a student who simply lies about any of this stuff, just like if with the certificates of teaching that were talked about before and the requirements for them, if the teacher came forward and said, oh, by the way, I don't have these things, I've taken these courses, what happens then? We can't protect the students from themselves, but as parents and as chaperones, we do everything we can to make sure kids go up, kids come back. To address another side of this, although we only have 6 years involved with the Kent School District, my wife and I have an accumulation of 60 years of kids going through schools in California. And one of the things that is constantly brought up in California is that these types of trips, this type of thing is more important to keeping kids interested in school than their schoolwork is. This extracurricular activities, be it band trips, be it swimming events, be it football games, keep borderline students interested in going to school. And the kids look forward to this. The kids started talking about this trip on the bus coming back from BC last year. So I'd like to hear some sort of a response, either in an email or comments tonight, on what the thinking is on why the students might not be able to come back, and how us as chaperones or whoever is chaperoning this year can address those concerns. Because at this point, the past evidence shows that it's an unfounded allegation that there's going to be a problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any comments up here before we vote?
We got to make the motion, right?
Oh.
In a point of order, you've got 5 requests as well. You might want to consider individually, or do you want to consider them all together?
How about we make a motion to approve?
Oh, you mean of the travel?
Of the 5 trips,
Okay.
can we make a motion to approve
all but
non-international travel?
I second that.
I think that was a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the non-international travel.
Okay. And we don't have to discuss that because this is consent. Okay, so all those in favor of approving the non-international travel trips, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Yes.
Yeah.
Maya, or
Second.
I'll do a second. Okay.
Well, then we need a motion, so I would move, as hard as it is to say it, it pains me, but I will say that I move to deny that international travel trips, and I will provide my explanation later.
I second.
Okay. Discussion?
Yeah, this is a really tough one for me. My daughter's had the opportunity to do a lot of international travel, and I see how valuable that is to anyone's education. I also very much agree that all kinds of extracurricular activities and opportunities like this really do engage our students in our educational system. But the reason I'm not in support of this is twofold, and one is the safety of our students is foremost to me, and also I believe that when I make a decision, I need to think about each and every one of our citizens. And I'm also mindful of our legal obligations, one of which is that we are legally obligated to educate all students, no matter what their documentation status is. So therefore, I believe it would not be appropriate to ask the students what their documentation, citizenship or legal residency documentation is. So that's my position on this.
Russ, do you want to?
Yeah. So a number of things, and I wish I'm going to, typically the public, this is a meeting among ourselves and the public gets to observe. I'm going to do a fourth wall break and talk to my colleagues like Ferris Bueller. This has given me at least 3 gray eyebrow hairs this week, and I really have thought very hard and very diligently, are we being passive-aggressive in a response to poor leadership at the federal level as it goes to dividing our nation? Are we overreacting? Does it make sense? And as I've struggled with the different emotions that I've been dealing with this entire week, the emotion that I keep coming back to is empathy. And, you know, I don't know if you're like me, but when we had a kid, the world changed. I viewed the news differently. I now discovered a new level of love that never existed before. And so we do have undocumented students in the Kent School District. We have many of them. They're dreamers. They were brought here because their parents hoped for a better life for them. And the fact is, we cannot ask who they are. We do not know who are undocumented. So with the heightened scrutiny that is now in place at our borders, I personally called Immigration and Customs Enforcement and said, if we have undocumented workers, what's going to happen? They won't be let back in. But you should call, just in case, Border Protection and Customs. So I called them and said, absolutely not. These children, even though their parents are in the United States, could be held. I don't make decisions out of fear. I'm pretty sure that kids who are undocumented would not go on the field trip. But now they've been identified. So now we know who are undocumented students in the Kent School District. The chances are slim. They're probably almost 0 to none. But it exists. Undocumented children are in the Kent School District and already have a lot of fear of going. I mean, my kid goes to Kent Elementary, high Hispanic population. His classmates are sometimes afraid to go home and their parents won't be there. I mean, this is a reality. My kid talks to me about it. So I'm not making this decision out of fear. I'm making it out of empathy. On the slightest, most infinitesimal unlikelihood, but it exists. And I truly hope that this is an opportunity for our students. And this is disappointing. It's really bad. I get it. I don't like it. But I really hope that this does not divide us, that the students can recognize, you mean kids would be identified as being undocumented? And again, the possibility is really small, but it's there. And I just can't vote for that. I cannot vote for something that places our students, because yes, there are undocumented students, there are citizens, but at the end of the day, they are students in the Kent School District. So that's the population that I'm making this decision on. And I hate it.
No, I think Russ has said it properly, and I am saying no also. I don't want to say that I'm not fearful, I think that's okay to admit. I'm fearful for our kids. We talk about equity nonstop, and it has to mean something. And if one person is in jeopardy or one child is in jeopardy, I feel like it's the fair thing to do and not allow this by the board. So I will be voting no.
And I think, again, Russ has stated it really well. I went to Victoria as a high school student in band. Both my boys did. Loved the trip. I understand it totally. But we have the safety of our students, and I will vote no.
So I just want to add one thing. The dirty laundry is right here. It is, if you open up the attachment, which I encourage you to do tonight, we had this conversation February 28th. And I truly believe, and I'll take full ownership, I knew that this was going to be a problem and that we probably should do a really good job communicating that. And this is about as bad as we can do. So we'll probably talk if deposits can't be refunded. We'll have a discussion up here because we had prior knowledge, and yet we just left. I mean, I'm looking at all the signatures of all the administrators. We met February 28th, and it's 3/7, 3/13, 3/12, 3/17, 3/17, and
Well, I want to disagree a little bit with you, Russ, because I know that there was conversation about it, and obviously different people signed off on it. But I'd also say that this is a new situation based on a new reality that was very different from last year. So I think some of that time, I feel bad that the decision is being made so close to the event. That hurts me, that bothers me, and I think we need to improve on that. But I also want to acknowledge that there was time where staff were doing research on this, and, you know, as you acknowledge, we were doing research too, to be able to make an informed decision.
yeah, but I thought we, in the library at Kent Phoenix Academy, we kind of said we are leaning towards a heavy no. Am I remembering that wrong? I mean, I don't know.
Well, we didn't have all the
Yeah.
information to make that decision, so it was a conversation that this could be occurring, was my perception, and that then staff
All right,
did
so
research into
if
it.
a highly likely remote possibility existed, I just, again, I believe in full disclosure, and it is new, and this is, there's bumps whenever you make some kind of decision like this, but
But I agree with Russ that I think, yes, it's new, but we could have done better. And we could have planned this earlier and had a discussion. I do agree with that.
so what I'm saying is I apologize. Yeah, there's no back and forth.
And that's what I was going to ask you. Remember, I told you I'm naive up there. This is all new to me. I just wanted to ask, or I just want to, I'm not going to, I can't speak intelligently on this, but do I understand it? We're not allowed to follow our protocols.
We understand that you want to interact, and this is the time for public comment was the time you could actually fill out another card at the end, but.
Well, we are, and that's what I wanted to ask. So, you get it?
Yeah, no, again, so this is a meeting among ourselves. You get to observe it. I broke the fourth wall. I'm talking to my colleagues, looking at you. So the best follow-up is to email us. Happy to answer any questions. I think we should take a vote.
Yep.
I will add that to that.
All right, now, we have two international trips. Do we vote on them Well, I moved. Deny both of them and just be
When I
done?
made my motion, I was
Just
including
can't,
both.
oh, you were?
Both international.
Okay, okay. Okay, so all those in favor of denying the international travel both to Victoria and to Japan, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay. Thank you. All right, 6.0, Board of Directors informational. We have the February 2017 financial statement. Did anybody have any questions? Okay, we don't need to vote on that. That's informational, so. Numbering is wrong. 6.02, I think the February 2017 General Fund Object of Expenditure Report. Again, informational only. Any questions or comments? Okay, we have the remaining communication from the audience. Wayne Jensen, you are up, and Tim Clark, you are on deck.
Superintendent Watts, President and Board, thank you for the opportunity. Wow, I can't believe everybody showed up to talk about calendars. 3 quick points. I know I'm on the clock.
Wayne, I'd like the audience to please stay quiet so we can hear. Thank you.
Well, that's at least 10 more seconds.
No, we'll start it again, Wayne.
A few quick points. One, I agree. Look, the calendar is built like a Rube Goldberg model. Too many moving parts, too many issues. It needs a major overhaul. Having the choice between vanilla and French vanilla, you're getting the results you're getting because those are the only 2 options presented in the 18 years I've been a parent. Vanilla is okay, but I prefer vanilla bean. So to that point, get people together, all of the moving parts, and actually reform the calendar. And when you do that, maybe we don't have conference weeks anymore. Maybe it's a few conference days. All of a sudden, fewer days in the calendar are needed because the hours are being met, which leads to my next point. If you're going to reform the calendar, you need to look at the schedule that we operate our schools by. Seattle is doing this now, and in my building alone, if we made a 7-minute adjustment to the day, staff agrees, principal agrees, food service agrees, saves the district money in the end for bus, utilities, food service. That additional 7 minutes, we already have student contact time. If you actually counted it during the day at the end of the year, it's almost 3 full days of additional instruction given to the children. All we're saying in the end is, I got to tell you, this March, even though we're going to talk about all this other, we get a day, we don't get, I will tell you in my building, March, that day we got as a staff, God, I wish I had one every few months. The productivity that came out of it was amazing. PLCs are great. I don't need a form to fill out. I'm an adult. I'm a business professional. Taken out of my time. But my point is, I'm happy to meet with any of the board members. I'm room 22 at Ridgewood. There are innovative and creative ways. In our building, we found a way to make late starts work so that we still get to pull an hour out of it. But nobody's asking to share our idea. Adding 7 minutes of time with students we already give is 3 days in the calendar. I'm happy to explain it. I'm happy to show it. Text me, write me, call me, chase me down, meet me somewhere for a beverage, but I'm there. So I just want to say there are incredible innovative ways. We just need to stop for a minute between the rhetoric because we're definitely going to hear some stuff tonight. I'm sure everybody came just to recognize everybody. Let's be civil. To that end, I want to end on one item tonight. House Bill 1341 deals with principals and teachers. Pro-teach affects both entities. This state made a change with the TPEP model. Can I have just 15 seconds?
Go.
Thank you. To that point, Senate Bill 1341, and then there's another attachment to it. Look, superintendents support it in this state. Teachers support it. Unions support it. Anyone that looks at the current system says, give your principals in the building the credit they deserve. When they evaluate me, That should count for something. When you send brand new teachers, by the way, who just basically got out of college, and you tell them your college education wasn't good enough, the fact that you're recognized as a teacher of the year, not good enough, here's this arcane dated system that, be honest, doesn't work. If you don't believe me, check it out or have me show you. That bill has been reintroduced and it's waiting. We have a senator that represents the majority of this district. I encourage my superintendent, I encourage my board members, reach out to Joe and let him know, do something right for teachers and do something right for our principals. Because if you've seen the work they do, particularly this time of year, they could use a break. Thank you.
All right, Tim Clark up and Christy Padilla on deck.
Superintendent Watts, Board of Directors, I'm pleased to be back. I'm Tim Clark. I'm one of the trustees on the Green River College Board of Trustees. And of course, we had the excitement last night of naming the new college president, Suzanne Johnson, and I think you'll find it fun to work with her. Very bright, articulate, very focused on student success, and of course, the importance of knowing the students in the community that you serve. But that's not why I'm here, actually. In the background and search of trying to get the best candidate for the job, I went to a number of campuses and had an opportunity to learn about how some people do other things, and ran across a program that really caught my eye. So I was up at Skagit Valley Community College, and that's an agricultural area, but it's been undergoing change, and the Mount Vernon School District now finds itself serving a student body that's 55% Hispanic. Now, of course, the same challenges that we face in terms of having families that sometimes don't have parents that's ever been to college and wanting to get them considering what they might do for careers. Skagit Valley did a fascinating thing. They created a program called Maestro de Pueblo. The program was specifically aimed at that Hispanic population, and obviously was about creating teachers from the population that they are serving. Now, the way they made it work, of course, was to make college approachable. We always deal with cost. What they had done is they had cut a deal with Western Washington University. And so between Skagit Valley offering Running Start and a focused program and an automatic tie into Western Washington, they could basically dial up the success rate and, of course, seeking money, reduce costs. So knowing that the Latino population is the single largest population in this school district, I just want you to know that I've already kicked administration at the other end, and we will be talking to you again.
Thank you, Tim. Christy?
Good evening, Dr. Watts, school board members, Kathy. Today I spent the day in Olympia meeting with legislators and listening to testimony on educational funding. Based on our current financial situation, this seemed especially important and relevant that I be there today. This is the first time I've spoken out publicly because about our current financial situation, because I thought it was important to give the opportunity for the district to frame the message. While we've probably lost some of the trust of our staff, especially at the building level, it was really important to me that I didn't add to the possibility that we'd lose the trust of our public, because we absolutely have to have the trust of our public. But I do want to share my thoughts on how disappointed I am in the way that our current financial situation has been communicated.
Right out of the gate, a letter was sent to our staff, and it appeared to point the fingers at negotiated agreements as well as a shortfall in McCleary money. And actually, as far as McCleary goes, the last couple years, we've actually, the legislator, under trying to meet its obligation towards McCleary, gave us $30 million extra dollars. And then there were some raises that came through, and I was here when those were approved by our school board that weren't necessarily negotiated, and they were huge salary increases as well as allocations for new administrative staff. So it was hurtful that we looked at negotiated agreements and did not mention agreements that weren't necessarily negotiated. In addition to that, it's been communicated by our district office that to OSPI, our governor, as well as other legislators, that encourages the limitations on collective bargaining rights and our ability to bargain a salary, which was especially hurtful to our association as well as the other associations in our district. If we're going to be looking through an equity lens, the budget cuts that are visible are at the building level. We say that kids aren't going to notice the budget cuts, but already our kids aren't being allowed to participate in the moving up ceremonies. We've had tutoring at the high school level where there haven't been buses. Our kids are feeling it and they're noticing it. So I would ask that maybe some of these things be looked at again. Moving forward, we're going to have to learn to build trust again. Next year, we've already heard that certificated staff are going to be cut and our class sizes are going to raise again to the negotiated agreement level, as well as splits are going to be put in place. Those are going to be very noticeable and visible, and I would ask that as we learn to build trust again, that we also keep in mind that the building level isn't probably the only place where budget cuts need to be taken.
Thank you for your comments. Dr. Watts, we are moving on to your report.
Yes. President Ruler, members of the board, community, thank you. So I'm going to start with a thank you again to two most important employee groups in our schools. One, our teachers, our principals, and specifically to those who impact the learning and achievement of our children every day. Sometimes that achievement is recognized publicly, and most recently, as evidenced by 4 of our elementary schools being honored for improved performance, growth, and/or overall achievement. Washington Achievement Awards have been awarded to 4 of our elementary schools: Carriage Crest, Horizon, Martin Sortune, and Grass Lake Elementary Schools. And so, to them, yes. On behalf of all of our schools, obviously, those 4 in particular will be celebrated, and based on their achievements, on May 3rd at Olympic Middle School in Auburn. I, along with other support staff, will be there to celebrate their success. Speaking of success of the whole child, and I do know that, that 2 of our comprehensive high schools are also putting on some very elaborate and phenomenal, I'm looking forward to it, musicals. Kent Lake Sister Act, April 27th to the 28th. We have my wife and I have a date night tomorrow at Kent Lake, so I look forward to, or Friday night, I look forward to that. Kent Ridge will put on the Wiz, which, for those who are not familiar, is a soulful rendition of The Wizard of Oz. And that's May 3rd, the 6th, May 10th through the 13th. And I just want everyone to know, certainly, that this opportunity for equity, excellence, and community is not lost on us. We have amazing leaders at every level, and while we are not where we want to be, we're closer than we've ever been to getting, I'll just say this, to turning our vision into reality and realizing our mission. I want to thank you for your continued support, and that concludes my report this evening.
All right, thank you. Russ? Good.
So I'm really hungry, as I think my other board members are, because usually we eat, but we are cutting. We don't eat. We start meeting at 5:30, and normally we have dinner, but that's been cut. So I'll try to be quick. I have mixed emotions about, I'm headed to a white privilege conference in Kansas City on Friday, or Thursday night, actually. And I'm going because white people need to fix the white people problems. And I don't know how to do that, so I'm hoping to learn and share those learnings with the Kent School District and the staff, because we've got a tremendous amount of work to do, and I just don't know how to do it. So I'm hoping to learn how to address our racial inequities in the Kent School District. And I am paying my own way. It will probably take half of my school board salary, which is all of $2,000 a year. I think it's about $6 an hour, maybe $5. The harder I work, the less I make. So I'll be paying for that conference, just so the appearance matters. And even though it's not even using school district dollars, it's using grant dollars from the roadmap, and nothing out of the Kent school budget is paying for that. I still think it's important that I pay my own way on that. That's it.
Okay, good. Agda?
Right. A couple updates related to WASD. One is, I think I've mentioned before, I serve on the resolutions committee. So we had a committee meeting and are doing that work, and had a wonderful opportunity to hear from Tim, the executive director, on some of the new direction that the board of WASDA is taking the organization. And specifically at that annual conference, they're going to be unveiling the new vision, mission, and goals for the organization. And I have a draft that was shared with us, and really excited to see the equity lens work that the board of WASDA has done, that's really sort of more embedded in this new strategic plan. And that instead of having program goals for things or programs of the organization, that there's a goal that focuses on students, all students, each and every one, and school directors, and then on the association, and that there'll be service delivery models related to those. And I also really like the approach that WASD is taking of moving to a shared leadership decision-making, and it's not just the executive director, and the board making the decisions, but more similar in line with what we've been doing here in the Kent School. So I wanted to share that with you. And then also related to WASDA is we're coming up on a deadline the beginning of June for legislative proposals, if we're interested in submitting any this year. So I asked my colleagues and any input from staff, Dr. Watts, on if there's any proposals that we would like to put forward. And then I will also reach out to colleagues that we've submitted them with proposals with before from Yakima and from South King County. So. And then I wanted to acknowledge the wonderful work of our fiscal staff in terms of there was audit. We had the audit exit, and there was no findings from the district, and so I was really pleased with that. And I also appreciated that the state auditors did acknowledge concern about our low fund balance, and commended our plans to move forward to address that. So I wanted to share that also, and that's my report.
Okay, a lot happened this past month, but I'm not going to talk about any of that. I just want to talk about the last two meetings we had on our budget and the opportunity I had to sit in on the budget discussion. First, I want to say that I've been here 4 years, and I want to share something that I debated whether I should bother with or not, but I'm going to share with you. But before I do that, I want to thank Mr. Newman and Dr. Watts for their openness in sharing where we're at. I know the public believes that this happened overnight, but I've been here 4 years, and I have paid attention to our finances. And I want to share this because when I sat there and I couldn't speak, but I had to listen to what everybody said, it irked me to no end because every meeting we ask questions. One particular meeting, 3 hours before the meeting, we looked at the budget variance, and I looked at the budget variance, and I looked at our travel costs, and the numbers didn't add up. So I wrote to the current superintendent, and it was only 3 hours before the meeting I asked the questions. Here was my response. Do you really want to publicly surprise and possibly embarrass my leadership team with your late arriving questions? I would hope that you allow me the time and respect to provide the board detailed, comprehensive responses, as opposed to a governing body member's approach that is meant to surprise and embarrass my team and me. And I want to say I brought this up because that email went to God knows how many people, and to Dr. Watts, who was in Georgia. This, I think, is one of the fundamental problems that we have as a board face, and that is we are shut down, when we have important questions. And there's a fear that we can't ask these questions, that the authorities have the information, and we're fed a lot of information that we believe to be accurate. So I just want to say that I've felt this for 3 years until Mr. Newman has come on board and Dr. Watts has come on board.
Yeah, you need to clarify it because the way you described it.
I was just going to wait until you finish, but I just want to say for the record, when you say current superintendent, I heard you say, I just want to make sure I heard that correct.
Apostle.
Okay.
Not
because seriously,
Yeah.
Maya, it
Not
came out
Dr.
like
okay,
your
I
meeting
apologize.
a couple days ago.
It's not appropriate
Yeah,
to
we're
talk
not-
about other people.
No, we're not speaking
I
of
just
names.
said Dr. Watts. I appreciate Dr. Watts. I just said that. I was
Yeah,
clear
it didn't come
in
out
saying
that way.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I apologize to Dr. Watson if I misrepresented that. But I was not going to share that, but I wanted to share that because it identifies the frustration. I think as a board, we have to do a better job of asking questions and not accepting what's given to us. But there has to be that reciprocal, sharing of that trust, and I feel like we have that now, but I don't feel like we've had that in the past. So my point in saying all this is that this didn't happen overnight, but we know where we're at now, and I think we're willing and open to share that information with everyone, and I think that was part of the process with the 2 budget meetings. And I just appreciate that people are comfortable enough to saying what they said that night. And I know the information is being compiled and being responded to. And I trust that we'll move forward with better communication in the future.
And Maya, can I just do an addendum to your update because it's about budget? 5 years, $380 million, plenty of public notice. Plenty of public education. In my 5 years that I've been here, on our public hearing for a $380 million budget, we've had 0 testimony. Not one person has come to testify about any concerns that the budget we pass. And we are open about it, we talk about it, we have meetings before the hearing, and I'm telling you, in the 5 years that I've been here, not one single person has ever testified at our public hearing for our budget. So I'm just going to put that out there. Okay, I'm done.
Okay, thanks.
I'm here.
I've attended several things this month. I was at the Certified Nursing Assistant graduation at Kent Lake. It was great. The girls and one young man were very pleased to graduate. They were wearing black scrubs, and they looked so professional. That was just really great. Also attended the PASA graduation at Mill Creek on the 5th, and there were so many parents there, and we had parents speaking. There were parent speakers. They spoke in Spanish. I'm not sure what else we had, but we had interpreters, and even we had one student as an interpreter, and it was really sweet. And they were, you could see how proud they were that they'd graduated PASA. I attended the audit exit conference also, and I think Maya said it well, just no findings. Agda, sorry. Oh yeah, that's right. Last night I was at the Teaching and Learning Technology Forum at Kent Elementary. We had an interesting, didn't have a whole lot of parents there until the parents of the Stomp team came. And the Stomp team was there too, and so Carmen just switched everything up, and he said, okay, we're going to get some more student voice here. And so we did, and it was really great. And we had performance from the Stomp team too, and they are incredible. They've been working since October, and they know an incredible amount of information and material. So that was a lot of fun. I just want to touch on the communities and schools. Kent is having their breakfast, their annual fundraising breakfast on the 18th from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. at Kent Phoenix Academy. The communities and schools provides wraparound services for our students who need them, including mentoring. And if you've been here before, you've heard me talk about mentoring. I'm mentoring 3 girls. 2 of them, I'm in my 2nd year with them. My KPA student right now has 5 A's in her 5 classes, and she's taking responsibility for getting her assignments done. Yes. My freshman at Highline College participated in the Students of Color Conference in Yakima earlier this month and really enjoyed it and wants to go again next year. She got a 3.9, a 3.4, and a 3.1 in her classes. And my elementary student, we're doing a lot of playing of games. She's learning to strategize, not just jump in and do something. She's learning to strategize, look, and see what's going to work. She's learning to be a good sport, winning or losing. So that's a big plus for her. So I'm going to Sister Act this weekend, and looking forward to that. So that being said,
Okay.
we're not finished.
Yes, I got emotional with my little number there, but I wanted to just say at the budget meeting, I also met a volunteer who has been volunteering 24 years at Kent Lake, putting on drama and theater, and I just mentioned to her that I will be sure to mention Sister Act happening April 20th to 22nd, 27th to the 29th, and May 4th to the 6th. Please go see it, and doing great work there at Kent Lake.
Oh,
Can I have
yes.
that? Are you holding that?
All right. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your comments. We are adjourned.